Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health, and really without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
This game keeps kicking my ass, and I still can't stop playing it.
Well, quit playing with yourself. Welcome to episode 144 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Big 144. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and the lows, the good and the bad and the up and the down. What's going on in your life?
Construction is almost done.
Cool.
Finally.
Awesome.
We've got about a week left. There's like running water out there and stuff now, so that's what used to be a patio.
Well, always good to have running water.
Yes. Well, I mean, out there. Lorelai is about to take up golf.
Awesome.
You might find that interesting. Yeah.
Awesome.
My father-in-law got her a set of clubs. It's like, I'm going to start taking her to golf. Matter of fact,
you should play. It's a hard game. It's very hard.
Oh man.
You should play. You'd find out it's actually a lot of fun. I enjoy playing. You're going to use muscles that you never thought you had. It's strange. I never realized just how tiring golf can be. It looks like such a leisurely sport, but it's really not.
Exercise. Plus a lot of walking and honestly, I mean, not to make you uncomfortable, but you're looking pretty sexy over there.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm nice and tan. Nice. That's for sure. Let's check my farmer's tan. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. Like I said, we do it every day except Monday because the club's closed on Monday, so we can't play then. But other than that, we're out there. Now that time's changed, we can actually get in 18 in the evenings after work instead of just 9.
Oh, nice.
Which is it's really nice. It's just it's starting to get very warm again, and got very used to cool weather for golf, so it's going to be it's going to be very warm. So
yeah, and it gets hot and humid down there. I could see why you would want to do it in the evening.
Yeah, but I mean, we won't have any relief soon. I mean, soon it's not going to be dark until after 8:30, and we'll still have the heat going all the way through then. Awesome. Well, I spent a week in Nashville.
How was Nashville?
Nashville was interesting. I didn't realize how big Nashville was, and the traffic in Nashville is like Dallas. It's terrible.
Oh God,
it's terrible. I met a couple of my team for dinner on the Tuesday that I was there, and the restaurant we went to was 10 miles away from my hotel, and I took a lift there, and it took 45 minutes. So
10 miles?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just like Dallas.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I did though. My Lyft driver from the airport, when he took me to the hotel, he goes, "Oh, you're right across the street from Hattie B's. Before you leave, you have to eat at Hattie B's, and it's Nashville hot chicken. That was damn good chicken.
I've heard that Nashville hot chicken is really tasty.
Well, Hattie B's was amazing. I loved it. I only had the medium, and it was a good heat. I probably could have stepped up to the next level, but it was good. It was very flavorful. They had really good sides with it and everything.
A lot of people are like, well, it's really hot. No. Hot is supposed to have flavor with it.
Yes.
It's supposed to just be hot.
Right. I don't like it when it's so hot that it doesn't have flavor.
Yeah.
I hate that. And then Thursday we did a team building exercise, and we went to an escape room.
Oh, nice.
That was fun. So much fun. And we escaped with 2 seconds left on the clock.
Nice.
You have an hour, and it was a jail, and there was 8 of us, and we were in 2 different cells, and each cell had something you had to complete to help out in the other cell, and you couldn't see what was in the other cell, and it was very cool. It was really, really cool. It was a great team building exercise. So I highly recommend it. I'd like to do another escape room, and us being IT people, we of course picked the hardest level.
Of course you did.
And it was hard. It was extremely difficult, but so much fun. I really looked forward to doing that, and it was great. I can't wait to do one of those again. I got to find another one to do those. So it was pretty cool. So, and then on the way home, flying through DFW, hey, they told us, we were ready to board the plane. They got us on the jetway, and we were almost about to board the plane. They're like, we have a little problem. We don't have a crew, and we have no power on this plane.
Hello, DF Dubs.
Why are you loading us on the damn plane? Our crew was coming in from Amarillo, and they were delayed. They finally got there. They got power to the plane. Got us on the tarmac, and a really bad lightning storm was coming through. This was Friday.
Yeah,
the previous Friday. And so they had to wait, and it wasn't going to clear. So they said, they were going to have to figure out a different flight plan to get around it. And by the time they figure out the flight plan, they said, well, we don't have enough fuel to make it around on this flight plan. And this crew has been in the air too long, and we're going to have to switch crews again. Wow. So 3 hours I sat on that plane on the tarmac to come home. So sucked.
Yeah. And how long was the flight? An hour, maybe?
A little over an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of fun.
Where waiting for the flight takes you longer than the flight.
Yeah. Well, it was just the fact that I had to sit on the damn plane for 3 hours.
Yep.
If I could have sat out in the lounge or something, that would have made it a little bit easier. So anyway, that's what all has been going on for me. So cool. Then let's kick it off. And Zig, why don't you take over on the nerdy side of the house?
Sweet. Today we're going to talk about a gaming company,
All right.
Days of Wonder.
Okay, it rings a bell.
Ticket to Ride.
Okay, which I've never played.
Small World.
I've played Small World.
Yep. Memoir 44. I think that's another big one of theirs. So Days of Wonder is a board game publisher founded in 2002 and owned by Asmodee Group since 2014. Days of Wonder distributes its game to 25 countries. It specializes in German-style board games or Eurotrash games and has branched out to include some online games. Days of Wonder has published games in several languages, including English, Dutch, French, German, Russian, and Greek. Days of Wonder was co-founded by Eric Hotmont and Mark Kaufman and Jan Corno. So Days of Wonder was founded in 2002 by Mark Kaufman, Eric Hotmont, and Jan Corno. It released its first game, Gang of Four, in 2002. And in March of 2004, the company released Ticket to Ride, designed by Alan R. Moon. In 2004, Ticket to Ride was awarded the Spiel des Jahres I'm sorry, my German is terrible. Spiel des Jahres. Is that may be German? That may be French and German. Okay.
No, it's not French or German. What's the word you're looking for again?
Spiel des Jahres.
Nope, not helping me any.
Yeah. The company released a digital version of Ticket to Ride also in 2006. The company's game, Shadows over Camelot, was named the best fantasy game at the 2006 Spiel des Jahres. In 2000, and again, I apologize for that. I know I'm messing that up. Small World received 3 awards, including Best Game of the Year, Best Family Game, and Best Game Artwork from Dice Tower Gaming Awards. In 2014, Days of Wonder was acquired by French game distributor Asmodee Group. They've really actually released a lot of stuff. They're real big in the idea of the small box games. And some of the small box games are basically, for the kids out there listening, small box games are these little games that you can set up and play rather quickly, and they're fairly inexpensive, usually based around cards or something like that. But the small box games are Fist of Dragonstone, Queen's Necklace, Gambit 7, Fictionaire Full Science, Fictionaire Tall Tales, Fictionaire Naturals, Fictionaire Classic Encyclopedia. So what the Fictionaire is, it is essentially like the Gloom story where you have the clear plastic cards and you tell a story on it.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is to keep the story going. But for some of their larger box games, they've got Mystery of the Abbey, Pirates Cove, Shadows over Camelot, Merlin's Company, Cleopatra and the Society of Architects, Colosseum, Mystery Express, Cargo Noir, Relic Runners, Five Tribes, the Artisans of Nakala, Five Tribes, Whims of the Sultan, Quadropolis Public Service, Yamatai, The River, Corinth, and Heat Pedal to the Metal. They also produced a bunch of expansions and things for Small World. And so what Small World is you basically have a map and you've got these different tribes or races, and there's a modifier for each one. And you those races and modifiers change out when you shuffle it up. So you don't know what you're getting next. So you play a race and you get as much as you can. And then on the next turn, you can pick another race. It generally, switching from one race to another does kind of cost you a little bit in some of the combat, but it could be beneficial for you, especially if the races have like floating or flying. There's different areas. The idea of Small World is you have a world and there's not enough room for everybody. There's several expansions on this, and the artwork is brilliant. It's really easy to play. It's really easy to understand. My kids have all played it. It's one of those games that you could just really get into and have a good time. Plus, it comes with a little plastic caddy for holding the different races and the different modifiers, and kind of a way to shuffle them up with it. It's just really brilliant, well designed. And it's a quality board, a quality box. It's just a really good game. I think you can even still pick it up at like Target. Small World, of course, they have standalone boxes. You got Small World Underground, Small World Designer Edition, and Small World of Warcraft, where you actually can play World of Warcraft in Small World. They've also got expansions, new races and powers. You got Grand Dames of Small World, Cursed, Be Not Afraid, Royal Bonus, and Spider's Web. And there are also some miscellaneous expansions that basically add more maps or give you more access. You got Small World Realms, Small World 6-player map, Leaders of the Small World, Tales and Legends, Necromancer Island, Small World Tunnels, Small World Encyclopedia, Small World River World, Small World Sky Islands. And basically most of the expansions will add on to the game and allow you to add more players, add some more flavor. But the game is different every time you play it. And I think that's why it kind of captured everybody's attention, because even though the map's the same, the setup is completely different every time. And there's a lot of random chance. Plus you have the ability to, make some moves and do some other things. And I think I've lost every time I played it, but I love playing it. So, my wife Cree and our friend Tay are exceptionally good at this game and basically kick my ass all the time. But it's been a while since we played. So they also came out with a game called Battle Lore. We've got Battle Lore Epic, Call to Arms, Dwarven Battalion, Scottish Wars, Goblin Skirmishes, Goblin Marauder, and the 100 Years War, Crossbows and Polearms. Hill Giant, Earth Elemental, and Patrol and Country. And the way Battle Lore basically plays out is it's kind of like Heroes of Might and Magic, but in a board game, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of fun too. I have put out some videos on these games and how they're played, and from a lot of these board game guys that are really, really exceptional. As well as linked to the Small World's entry into Board Game Geek. Kids, you need to get out there and check it out. They've got a bunch of really cool stuff. And again, for all the really great artwork, like Fantasy Flight games. Fantasy Flight games are exceedingly expensive. They're exceedingly expensive for a reason. They're really well made, and they'll last you a lifetime. Worlds of Wonder, not so much, or Days of Wonder. I keep calling them Worlds of Wonder. Sorry. They're less expensive. The quality is still there, but it's not a lot of plastic pieces. It's more heavy duty cardstock. So, but they're more affordable to play, and they're really well made for, especially for cardstock. They're exceedingly well made. So it's really something you want to get out there and check. Not to bemoan Fantasy Flight games, because everything Fantasy Flight makes is exceptional. But I would say the same thing for Days of Wonder. They also produce card games. You've got Gang of Four Recharge Packs, Gang of Four Redesigned Second Edition, Terra, Ticket to Ride, the card game, Shadows over Camelot, the card game. And you also have the Art of Small World, Small World Amazon statue, Small World Skeleton statue, Small World Spider statue, Small World Wizard statue. These are little things for play with Small World, so you can buy little icons for them. They've also released some digital games. Ticket to Ride, online, Xbox, iOS, on the Mac and PC, on Linux, on Android. They also released a version of Memoir 44 for Mac and PC. You got Gang of Four online, Small World for iOS. You got Small World 2 for Mac, PC, iOS, and Android. They also produced Memoir 44. In the past, we've talked about the different types of games. You've got Ameritrash games or American-style board games. You've got Euro-style board games or Eurotrash games. You've also got these things called grognard games. Grognard games from the French grumbler are very, very serious, historically accurate, lot of math, a lot of little cardboard pieces and figuring things out. Basically war games. They produced one of those two called Memoir 44. And it's basically about the Battle of the Bulge, or several other battles going on in Europe in 1944. Essentially tank warfare. It is very intense. They do have some pieces as opposed to just the little paper or cardboard chits. But it is definitely a grognard game. If you guys really want to play a heavy strategy game, you guys should check it out because it's a fairly inexpensive entry into that set. Plus, the artwork is a little better than some of the other grognard games, like the Barbarians game I have, which I've only ever got anybody to play with me a couple of times because it's pretty serious. And finally, we want to talk about probably their most popular game, Ticket to Ride. Ticket to Ride has been produced several times. Well, okay, you've played Small World. What do you think about Small World?
Small World's a fun game. It's it's a cool game. It's interesting to play. I've only played it a couple of times. I haven't played it a whole bunch. I know you've played a lot more. You touted that game for quite a while.
Yes.
And Ticket to Ride, I've never played. I've heard a lot about it, but I've never actually played it. So.
In the YouTube playlist, I have included the Will Wheaton's Tabletop.
Ticket
to Ride.
Yeah.
Basically, Ticket to Ride is you're building a rail empire with little plastic trains, and you've got different tracks that you can build and design, and you're competing with other people to have basically the biggest rail line. You're trying to build a train empire. There's several iterations of this game. As well as different maps, so you could play in different places on different rail networks. But yeah, everybody loves this game. It's a lot of fun. Again, I haven't played it myself. I have seen a lot of people play it, and it's one of those games I've been meaning to get for a long time, but I've got so many games I don't ever get to play. I didn't want to add another one. Usually when we play, it's usually like Small World or Unstable Unicorns or Secret Hitler or something like that. But yeah, Ticket to Ride looks like it's one that everybody can get involved in because you're basically just it's about trains, and you got these cute little train pieces. And I think there's even I think there's an award for the longest unbroken line as well, which can get you points. But basically, you're just trying to build a rail network against other railroad companies. Points based. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of people really enjoy it. It's one of those things. It's back in the day, in the early 80s, we had a lot of these strategy games, early to mid 80s, and then for a while they kind of went away, and we were left looking for them. After they released Catan, these strategy board games started to become more and more numerous. And there's actually a market for them. So it's really nice that the board game family board game fandom market, yeah, has really increased over the last 20 years or so. It's a really beautiful thing to see, and does my nerd heart well. But yeah, that's about it for Days of Wonder, other than get out there and play it. Small World is not expensive. Ticket to Ride is not that expensive. Plus, it's a good quality game, so it's not something it's something you're going to have for a long time. So it doesn't. Yeah, it may be $40, but you'll only have to spend it once. It's not like some of the games that we had in our day where the pieces break or pieces and things like that. Some of this board game fandom community, they're really big about once you buy it, you have it, and you can trade it later on or pass it down. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, the board games can get really expensive. I mean, upwards of over $100 on just a board game. I used to love once a year. What the hell is the name of that place in Plano? The comic book shop, the big one.
Oh, Madness? No,
Madness. Yeah, Madness. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Once a year, they would do a buy two get one free sale.
Oh my god!
And your one free one had to be equal to or lesser in value than one of the others you bought. And so I would always go check it out then. I mean, that's where I got the Firefly game and Nexus, XCOM. I think I got through there. But yeah, I mean, it can be insanely expensive stuff. So it's nice to have stuff that's not quite as expensive that's still fun.
Yeah, it's still fun. And games you could play over and over again with friends.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, thanks for another trip down another board game or gaming company. Appreciate those. I'll, love when I've been able to play them in these cases. Really haven't, except for Small World. But yeah, no, appreciate that stuff. Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
All right, with that, we will take over on the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off Medium, CBC News, True Crime Daily, and Unsolved. And this is the murder of Lindsay Buziak.
Lindsay Buziak.
So last week we had covered the murder of a real estate agent, and this is another one that was a real estate agent. I was more familiar with this one. It's more famous. Mm-hmm. I've heard it on multiple podcasts, and it's really, really interesting. So, on February 2nd, 2008, Lindsay Buziak, she was supposed to be meeting two prospective clients. There was a couple that wanted a viewing in Saanich, British Columbia, which is a suburb of Victoria. The couple was a man and woman, and they had told Lindsay that they wanted to buy $1 million home. Must be nice. Must be nice.
Yeah.
Lindsay was only 28 years old. She was.
Wait, is that $1 million Canadian?
I would assume so, since they're in Canada.
I don't think that's $1 million then.
In Canada.
Canada.
I don't know what the exchange rate is, but hey, $1 million home to me sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
What is the exchange rate?
Canada. I think it's actually pretty close to 1-to-1 now, but for a long time it was like 2-to-1.
Well, this was in 2008, so.
Oh yeah, so it's probably right around $1 million.
Maybe. Lindsay was 28 years old. She was a Victoria real estate agent, and she had actually just started in the new career. She was very, very ambitious, and her friends and coworkers described her as very, that she was very popular and she was caring. Lindsay was born on November 2nd, 1983 in Victoria, Canada. Her parents were Jeff Buziak and Evelyn Buziak. She had a sister, Sarah. She'd been dating a guy named Jason Zalo for about a year, and his family was very wealthy, and they also owned a real estate business. Lindsay was feeling a little trepidatious about meeting with the new clients. She'd been contacted in late January of 2008, and she said the woman on the phone had spoken with a foreign accent. She told Lindsay that she and her husband were looking to buy a home with a budget up to $1 million. And the woman specified that the property had to be move-in ready and about 15 minutes outside of town. As I'd said, Lindsay had been a relatively new realtor, and she felt weird about how the couple had directly contacted her for such a massive deal because she didn't have a high profile yet in the real estate world.
Okay.
She'd been bemused about how the woman got her phone number because it was her personal cell phone number. But the woman on the phone told her that one of Lindsay's previous clients had given her the number. The woman gave her the name of the client that had given her Lindsay's phone number, but the client was out of town and couldn't be reached. Lindsay told her boyfriend Jason, as well as her father Jeff, about the call. She told him she was confused and a little concerned about the situation. And she had said, quote, "Daddy, there's something I'm sensing about this. This woman sounded weird." Jason, however, encouraged her to take on the new client because she said she would receive such a large commission from the sale. And he had told her because she was feeling nervous about the case, he would sit outside the property in his vehicle. He was an ex-hockey player. He was like 6'3" and 240 pounds. So, not a small guy. Not a small guy.
Yeah, an enforcer, probably.
It was said that Jason had an intimidating presence, so Lindsay felt more at ease with meeting the client, and she began to search for a property for a new clients, and she found a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom property in Gordon Head neighborhood that was just under $1 million. So she made the appointment for Saturday, February 2nd, 2008 at 5:30 p.m. So, despite her uneasiness and everything else surrounding it, Lindsay went to go meet with the couple. She went to a restaurant and shared a late lunch with Jason. They left at 4:24 p.m., each going in their separate vehicles. Lindsay had gone home briefly to change clothes before the viewing, and then Jason went to a body shop to pick up a colleague. They were running a little late, and CCTV cameras showed that Jason and his friend didn't leave until 5:30 p.m. Lindsay was unaware that Jason was going to be late, was aware that Jason was going to be late because they had been exchanging text messages on everything. So Lindsay went to the address, which was located at 1702 D'Souza Place. It was on the outer end of a cul-de-sac. The property's back garden fence ran alongside Torquay Drive, which was a main road. The client had told Lindsay over the phone she'd be arriving on her own. However, she arrived with her husband. Witnesses had seen the couple arrive at the property and shake hands with Lindsay before they entered the house. The woman had been described as being blonde, about 35 to 45, with a patterned dress. And the man was described as being 6 feet tall, Caucasian, with dark hair. The witness believed that from their body language, they didn't believe that Lindsay had ever met the couple beforehand. And according to the Saanich police, the lockbox had computer access, and so they knew that Lindsay had entered the property at exactly 5:29 p.m., where she had proceeded to show the clients the main floor of the property. Jason and his colleague arrived at the property at 5:40 p.m., and as he drove up, Jason saw the man and woman at the front door. They were about to leave, but then they turned around and went back inside. Jason figured they were the clients that Lindsay were meeting, and so he parked outside for about 10 minutes. And at the 10-minute mark, he decided to move his vehicle near Torquay Drive, as he didn't want to be a noisy, interfering boyfriend and ruin the sale.
Yeah.
But after sitting there for
third baseman.
Exactly. Well, so after sitting there for 10 minutes, he decided to text her, but he could see that Lindsay never opened the message. So he decided to try the front door and go inside, but the door was locked. This alarmed him, so he called 911 and reported what was going on. And while speaking with the 911 operator, Jason's friend had gotten out of the vehicle and found a gap in the fence located near the back garden. He investigated around, discovered that the back patio door was wide open, and he called out to Jason, who told the phone operator they were going to enter the house, and at that point, Jason hung up the phone. Jason's friend entered the house, walking through the main level of the house and unlocking the front door for Jason. He ran upstairs and found Lindsay lying in the master bedroom, and there was a pool of blood. Jason called 911, and the paramedics were dispatched. When the paramedics arrived, Lindsay was pronounced dead. She had been stabbed more than 40 times.
Oh, my God. Oh, wait. Just because I want to get the timeline right. So she meets them roughly 5
She unlocked the door at 5:29 p.m.
5:29, so 5:30. Let's say 5:30.
Mm-hmm.
He sees them at 5:45.
Was it he arrived at the property at 5:40, and he saw the man and woman leaving at 5:40. So we've got
back in the house.
We've got an 11. Yeah, they went back in the house, but he never. But it doesn't say he ever saw them leave.
Right on.
So we've got an 11-minute time window here.
Good God! They stabbed her 40 times in 11 minutes.
That's our timeline.
Wow. Okay, I'm with you now. Thank you.
She didn't have any defensive wounds, so it was believed that that because of that she'd been stabbed, and because she'd been stabbed in the back, she probably had no idea what occurred. She hadn't been sexually assaulted, and her personal belongings had not been stolen. Now, at 5:41, Lindsay had pocket dialed a friend that she hadn't spoken to in a long time. The message was extremely muffled. So now we're at the 12-minute mark.
Okay.
The police theorized that the phone call occurred while Lindsay was attacked. She had been showing the master bedroom and ensuite bathroom when she had been struck from behind. So, again, now we're talking 11, 12-minute time window. Not sure. It does believe the two killers were sophisticated, as they planned everything in advance, and Lindsay had likely been personally targeted by criminals with inside information.
Yeah.
The main theories about the motive in Lindsay's murder is that it was either highly personal or she had potentially seen something she wasn't supposed to. Now, Lindsay wasn't known to have any criminal activity in her past, but she had friends from all kinds of different backgrounds.
As we all do.
Huh? Jason and his friend were both initially taken into police custody. And after they told police what happened, their story was corroborated by the auto shop surveillance footage, as it proved they could not have possibly committed the murder, so they were released from custody.
Okay.
The Sandwich Police Department interviewed Jason multiple times over the years, as he has always been cooperative, and he took a polygraph test, whether you buy polygraph tests or not, but he did pass. Lindsay's father, who lived in Calgary, Alberta at the time of the murder, had his suspicions about Jason. Lindsay's father said the following quote, "There's certain things I don't buy there. For me personally, one, I would have gone and checked as soon as I saw somebody dart in and out the front door. That concerns me. The other thing that's odd to me is supposedly Jason had never been in the house. Why would he push the front door open, run up the stairwell right in the master bedroom without stopping?" It's a good point. Geoff Buziak did speak out about how his daughter had confided in him about her relationship with Jason. She had traveled to Calgary just 6 weeks before her murder, and he said the following quote, "She just felt Jason was overbearing and demanding and, jealous, possessive. She came out to Calgary to speak to me about that." The police didn't have a great deal of physical evidence to work with. There was zero DNA, no fingerprints, or any other physical evidence found at the scene. Because of this, police believe the killers had done it before. Sergeant Horsley of the St. Louis Police Department spoke out about Jason and the suspicions that some people held about him being a potential suspect. He said, quote, "Based on forensic evidence, timeline of communications, witness testimony, video surveillance, we know that Zallo's not the killer. Was he perhaps somehow involved in the planning? Well, he successfully passed a polygraph test, and he successfully took part in all these interviews with us. So at this point in time, he's not considered a suspect. It certainly has the hallmarks of being pre-planned and pre-orchestrated, without a doubt." The police believe the killers had been leaving through the front door when Jason had parked out front, but instead they'd gone out the back door, which is why the back door was open for his friend.
Oh, yeah.
The killers had then hopped the fence and headed to their vehicle, which they likely parked on Torquay Drive. And the police had this theory in mind because of the witness statements walking up the cul-de-sac instead of driving, and that every vehicle on the cul-de-sac were all accounted for when the police arrived. Because Lindsay had written down the phone number of her client, the police were able to trace down the cell phone that had been used to contact her. This phone had been purchased with cash in Vancouver about 3 months before the murder, and it hadn't been used to make any calls prior to that. So they'd been planning this for 3 months.
Yeah. Burner.
The phone had been registered under the name Paulo Rodriguez, although the police believed it was a fake name. The phone had been registered to a Vancouver address, which led the police to a business. They believed the address had been chosen at random as it had nothing to do with the case. Shortly after the murder, the phone was deactivated and it hasn't been used since. The cell phone tower showed that cell phone owner had traveled by ferry to Vancouver on the day before the murder. The police firmly believe that the phone had been purchased and activated solely for the murder of Lindsay, and the murderer then got rid of the phone afterwards. With this in mind, the police believe that this was further evidence toward the theory that Lindsay's murder had been planned way ahead of time.
Took the ferry to Vancouver. Probably tossed that bad boy out into Puget Sound.
Probably. Jason and his family were all investigated by the police. Jason had a connection to the cul-de-sac because Shirley Zallo, Jason's mother, was a friend and business associate to the developer, Joe D'Souza. D'Souza Court had some parts of the cul-de-sac still under development when Lindsay had met up with her clients. D'Souza had been at the property just an hour before the murder because he'd been supervising construction being done at the time. But the police eventually determined that the Zallo family were not considered suspects in Lindsay's murder. In September of 2010, NBC's Dateline aired an episode about the Buziak murder. The episode was titled Dreamhouse Murder. During the episode, Detective Horsley and McCall, again from Saanich Police Department, spoke out that in December 2007, 2 months before Lindsay's murder, she had gone to Calgary on a trip. While there, she had tried to contact her ex-boyfriend. Her ex was later arrested on January 22nd, 2008, in one of Alberta's largest drug busts. He had been a major participant in the drug trafficking operation. And this new information led some to believe that Lindsay may have been killed off by a drug cartel because they'd suspected her of being a police informant or because she had witnessed something she wasn't supposed to.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense now.
There had been a lot of paranoid people in the drug trade after the large bust, and they were determined to find out who spoke to the police. Horsley said, quote, "What we can say is that people lost a lot of money, and the people that lost the drugs know that someone spoke to the police. A witch hunt occurred where people were questioned. People were being pulled out of their beds in the middle of the night and asked, who have you spoken to, because they know someone spoke to police." So police investigated the drug cartel theory, but they quickly dismissed it. The reasoning behind this was because she wasn't an informant, and this theory wasn't a possible motive, as the killer had not likely been a hired killer and seemed to be more of a personal nature. Homicide detective Dwayne Stanton and CSI Yolanda McClary were both in agreement that Lindsay's murder did not seem like a contract killing and not likely to do anything with the drug cartel. Her murder had been brutal in nature, but both McClary and Stanton believed that the killing had been amateurish in nature. They both suggested that Lindsay's murder had been personal and was likely someone close to her that arranged the entire thing. And they believed this was the case because the killer had to have inside information from the Remax office where Lindsay worked. So they said it had been amateurish in nature. I don't see that. With no evidence left behind the scene.
DNA, they didn't leave any.
Yeah, I don't see amateur in this one at all.
No. Maybe they mean amateur in the type of stab wounds. You know what I mean? Because a contract killer knows where to stab you. Maybe. I don't know.
It
sounds like they just fucking kept stabbing her till she stopped moving.
Yeah, maybe. You could be right on that. I didn't see this one.
I mean, as far as everything else, they didn't leave any prints. They didn't leave any DNA. They didn't leave any hair, anything else.
Right. Yeah.
The car was on the street. They used a burner phone, which they probably tossed in Puget Sound. Again, that's a theory.
Right.
Because they took the ferry. You know, that ferry crosses that channel out there, which is deep.
Well, there was speculation that another drug bust from the people in Alberta may have had something to do with Lindsay's murder. One of the phones that had been tapped by authorities, because the person had been heavily involved with the drug trade in both Alberta and British Columbia, When the authorities had tapped the phone, they were able to get information leading to the BC legislature raids in 2003. During the wiretaps, both Lindsay and Jason's phones were tapped because they were associated with the people that the police were investigating. This theory that Lindsay's murder may have been connected to the drug bust was later dismissed because she had no known involvement in drug use or in drug trafficking, and Lindsay hadn't even appeared on the witness list for the trial. Later on in 2008, one of Lindsay's friends, Nikki, said she had received a strange phone call in the middle of the night. It had been from an unknown number, and when she picked it up, there was a woman on the other end speaking with a foreign accent. Lindsay had been half asleep and hadn't heard anything, or Nikki had been half asleep and hadn't heard anything the woman was saying. She became scared, remembering that Lindsay had received an odd phone call from a woman with an identified foreign accent, which may have been Lindsay's murderer.
Okay.
Nikki quickly became fully awake, and she tried to call the number back, and she tried it about 20 or 30 times, but no one ever picked up, or she didn't receive an answer. But then finally somebody did pick up. It was Shirley Zallo, Jason's mother. Nikki tried to talk to Shirley about why she called and how she had Nikki's number because they didn't know each other. And Shirley had told her she'd been trying to reach her secretary, who was also named Nikki, and she must have dialed the wrong number. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
She said she didn't know why Nikki's number was in her contact list, but she just suggested maybe Jason had added it to her phone for whatever reason. Shirley denies this interaction ever occurred, and it's really unknown whether police ever looked into Nikki's claim. In August of 2017, there was a public message posted on Geoff Buziak's investigative website. The message, which had been filled with misspellings, read, "I killed Lindsay and the stupid cops will never prove it." It's unknown if Geoff Buziak had posted this message himself or if someone had hacked in the website and posted the message. Every year since his daughter's murder, Geoff has held an annual walk in remembrance to keep Lindsay's murder case in the public eye. He hosts the annual walk on February 2nd, which is the day she'd been murdered. The Walk for Justice is 17 kilometers long, starting at Royal Oak Burial Park in Saanich, going past the property where Lindsay was murdered and ending at Saanich Municipal Hall.
February?
That they have the walk? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a rough walk.
Well, but they wanted to do it on the anniversary, so
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Geoff said there were two main reasons that he held the annual walk. One is to heal for the family and community and friends, and of course to keep the case in the public eye because it doesn't get easier each year. Geoff stated he believed he had an idea who was behind the killing. He said, quote, "I want the people to know, most importantly, that the people involved in Lindsay's murder are in this community and walking free for 9 years, while the rest of us, the community, the family, and the friends of Lindsay, have basically been in prison." In 2020, the Capital Daily decided to access public records relating to the case. They pored over the records and were able to publish new information pertaining to the case. According to the public records, the police had actually been aware there had been two separate crime phones used by the murder suspects. One of the phones had been a Vancouver number used to contact Lindsay, and the other had been used to check the voicemail of the first phone. Police had noted there had been some strange internet activity shortly before Lindsay's murder, and they suspected some of the people on Lindsay's Facebook friends were, quote, violent criminals, and the police believed that these people may have been involved in the murder. In February 2021, the Saanich Police Department had gone public with a new development in the case. They said they did have some DNA from the crime scene, which they were having analyzed, in the hopes they might find the culprits. The Saanich Police have been working with the FBI since 2020 on Buziak's murder, as well as the DNA analysis, which has generated new leads in the case. Geoff Buziak has been openly critical of the Saanich Police and their handling of the murder, but unfortunately, as of today, there are still no updates or resolutions from this case.
Wow.
And that's the story of the murder of Lindsay Buziak.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, like I said, this one was a lot more famous than the last one I did. Especially it's got the web sleuths out there really looking into everything, and I'd really like to know what comes to that DNA. It's interesting that they said they had no DNA, but yet apparently they did. And I don't know if that was just going back and saying, oh, hey, we didn't check this, well, or I don't know. I don't know why they said there wasn't any, and now suddenly they have. What did they find? I don't know.
Right on.
So, yeah. That's it for my stuff.
Thank you for that, sir. That was fascinating.
You betcha. That'll take us to the end of another recording week. As always, you can find more information about us on nerderymurdery.com. That's our hub to everything we talk about. It has links to this episode as well as pictures that we post about this, and you can also find the link to our YouTube page, which Zig so often updates.
That's right. The YouTube page should have videos on the nerdery subject as well as things to watch and things we think are funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. You can also find the link to our merchandise page where if you wish to show off your Nerdy or Murdy fandom, please do consider purchasing something for that. That, along with our Patreon, our patrons do help us with the cost of the show. They donate to the show, and with our merchandise, that helps keep us on the air. There are costs that are associated with publishing this, keeping our website going, and everything that goes along with that. It does not go to fabulous vacations, fabulous cars, and all kinds of other stuff.
No, it does not.
But we do. Please and thank you. And last but not least, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for the topics we discuss. So with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.